Hey, everybody, off the top rope here, off the Mike Sports Network. Usually on Thursdays, I talk about the ratings and give you guys an update of where things are between AEW and NXT, because that's really where the competition is. But I have an angle here that ties into all of this and why, among many things, AEW's got problems because they got their priorities all over the place and they have no idea what they are. So first and foremost, let's get to the actual numbers here for a second. And so Dynamite comes in. They're better in the 18 to 49, but they still lose out in total viewership. 652 for NXT, 0.14 in the 18 to 49, 629 and 0.16 for AEW Dynamite. So once again, NXT wins in total viewership. And this has kind of been a theme. Like the demo's been kind of like right neck and neck, but you kind of can expect that. 18 to 49, I think, feels more. It's actually kind of weird that Dynamite, given its older roster, you would think would maybe generate more or older viewership, but 18 to 49, it's like, okay. But the point is here, and I got a point. One of the big pieces of that show last night was Will Ospreay. And I didn't get a chance to talk about this, but I'm going to use this as kind of like with the ratings and, kind of have a broader thing. So Will Ospreay did an interview the other day with the Daily Star, which is a big newspaper over in the United Kingdom. And I guess more or less he's talking about professional wrestling. I guess this was to promote Forbidden Door, which is going to be in the United Kingdom. So start your rumors that he's going to win the AEW championship. But some really interesting quotes specifically about WWE, which I find really interesting because you're promoting an AEW show, yet you're talking about WWE. So bear with me here. Here's the quotes. I think deep down we know WWE is a machine and an animal. They're in giant stadiums and doing so good. A lot of people look at us and think we're doing it wrong because WWE is doing this. No, there are different ways of doing it. I got into WWE when I was a kid, but when I became a teenager, I thought it was lame. There were certain guys I enjoyed, like Eddie Guerrero, Edge, Randy Orton is sick. After a while, I was like, this is pantomiming. People would go, especially coming up into wrestling, less is more. Is it? I'm bored. It's the same stuff recycled over and over again. Every now and again, you'd get something cool like the CM Punk pipe bomb promo. All right, let's stop there for a second and just kind of break this down. Look, a lot of us feel this way because, the old WWE was not based around work rate. It was more about story. It was more about bigger wrestlers. It was more about having more of a build, looking like a star. And so to that effect, I understand kind of where Will Ospreay is coming from. It's just a weird thing to say when you're there to promote the other show and, you're talking about this. So let's continue here. WWE are on fire now, but I still as not only just as a viewer, but as a wrestler, I just don't enjoy it. I haven't watched WrestleMania. What I've heard is it wasn't the best Mania. He's right about that. Maybe like Io, Rhea, and Bianca was the only sick match on there, which the three of them are sick. Three of the best wrestlers, period. But for me, I just never was a WWE guy. I respect it, and I respect the guys doing it. The schedule is like crazy, and I commend them all for doing it. I just didn't like it. I don't like the show. I don't like the style of wrestling. I don't like the presentation. It's gotten better. I love the one shots that they've been doing, but I've never been a big fan of it. So that's why when AEW came along and they went with more like a sports-based style of it, it was something that I could sink my teeth into. Okay, let's stop there again and let's just kind of analyze this as well. So he's right about WrestleMania. WrestleMania wasn't great. And yes, the schedule at WWE is crazy. I'll say more of this for the end, but talking about sports-based presentation, AEW really hasn't done the sports-based presentation. They're trying to be a sports entertainment company. They've been trying for a long time with wrestling to supplement. And because they don't do the sports entertainment element of it well, they stick to the wrestling matches, which have no story and give no meaning to any of these 5-star banger classics. Okay. And then the last piece of this, of course, I respect WWE and I admire everyone there. A lot of people think I hate Triple H, and I really don't. I've never met the guy before in my life, but for me, there was always this little bit of a rivalry where I'll just be like, "Yeah, you guys are the biggest. Yeah, you guys are drawing the bigger houses. Yeah, you guys are having the bigger deals." But the moment the bell rings, I think we're better than all of them. Like, I think honestly, on my worst day, I'm better than a lot of the guys in ring. In ring promos, you got you guys have got a bunch of guys. Punk's sick, Reigns is sick. There's still things that I need to catch up on. But in ring, I generally don't think there's anyone from that side that has matches like any of our guys. Okay. He may be right about that. I'll say this. I would put Seth Rollins, I'd put Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens when healthy. Those guys are as gifted in the ring as you're going to find. There are guys in NXT who are at a really high level. Like, I mean, for God's sake, Ricky Starks, now Ricky Saints, Ethan Page has been around this business forever in NXT. So listen, I'm not going to act like, Will Ospreay doesn't have a point in any of this. It's just, it comes across as really odd that one of AEW's top stars, who is literally fighting for a chance to fight for the world championship in 2 weeks' time, literally fighting for a chance to go face the world champion at their biggest show in Texas, and then potentially come home to the United Kingdom and be the world champion at Forbidden Door. He's got a chance to do that. And what is he talking about in what was about a 30-minute interview? He's spending time talking about the competition. I understand that the competition is relevant, but shouldn't you be promoting your own product? And then you're comparing it side by side in ring versus WWE. First of all, that's not WWE has gotten a lot better when it comes to the in-ring product. But let's be real. The amount of talent from an in-ring perspective is there. Like, I've been critical of Mercedes Moné, the character. As a wrestler, she is as good of a female performer, as good of a performer in the ring as we've ever seen. That Will Ospreay, you can say he's a gymnast or whatever, or that it's like a circus act. Some of the stuff that he can do in the ring is unlike any performer across the world. He is as good as there is right now. And so I understand confidence. I understand bravado. I understand standing up for the company that's paying you a whole bunch of money. But what does this accomplish? What does this accomplish for AEW at all? You're spending most of the time trying to compare yourself when WWE is not branding themselves where the best wrestle. They're not doing that, okay? And wrestling has never been my issue with AEW. They rarely have bad matches. Rarely. Rare, but the problem is almost none of these matches have any meaning. And yet here you are 2 weeks before a pay-per-view doing an interview publicly with the Daily Star, and you're basically promoting a pay-per-view, and here you are talking about the competition, giving them free publicity. Like, what does that do? Like, Will, I understand that you are the poster boy for AEW, but the more you talk about the other competition, it just shows that your priorities are not in check. And anybody who wants to convince me that it's not bothering Tony Khan and it's not bothering the rest of the company that they're losing out to WWE's C show, developmental show, listen to that interview. Like, you're talking about that and you're trying to prop up your own show by trying to put down the competition. Why don't you focus on trying to make your product better? That's why you're losing to NXT. You're picking these petty fights. CM Punk broke you guys when he left, and then he broke you guys with the Helwani interview because it led to the Bucks footage. It led to all this other stuff that came out. And then I see an interview like this, and I'm like, it's still the same shit. They are bothered. They are clearly irritated by what has happened with WWE and their boom period. And yes, I'm not saying WWE is a perfect product. Everybody thinks I'm just a Fed drone, or I love the Fed. I'm getting paid. I don't get paid jack shit for doing this, at least from WWE. I don't get paid by WWE to do this. I do this on my own free will because I love talking wrestling and I love talking about this stuff. And I want to see every company do well. And admittedly, I do enjoy some of the matches, but it's like the equivalent of going to see a live action movie with 1 million explosions. It's like The Expendables or Transformers, and you don't remember anything. And I'm not saying that, freaking like WWE is going to win an Oscar or an Emmy, but some of the stuff that they do is really entertaining for the way that they bring you in and they get you invested in characters. And then you translate that into wrestling matches, it makes that mean that much more. Like the Cody Rhodes story and him finishing his story was so epic in that moment at WrestleMania 40, which kind of was a little bit undone by the whole thing at this year's WrestleMania, but still, we're still going to remember that for a long time with all of the bits that came into that, all the interferences and everything. It was beautiful. It was one of the great wrestling matches of all time. So I keep saying this. If you're AEW, focus on your own product. You're way more focused on the competition than you are on your own, program. And every single week you're still doing the same thing. You think it's good. It's not, because you're clearly still not and like I said, until they can figure out a way to beat NXT, there's really not a discussion here. They'll probably get more pay-per-view buys and more views, I would say. Who knows? Like, I don't know if there's a way to really tabulate that. NXT's going head-to-head with them with Battleground that Sunday with Double or Nothing. But AEW's also got to get some matches announced for Double or Nothing. They got 2 matches that were made by tournaments. They're not even made matches. There's no really, overriding stories that are like, it's really anarchy in the arena, and that's it. That's it. And then both your world champions are, up in the air. Mercedes Moné, the TBS champion, is already in one of these matches. It's like, what are you going to do? You're going to have a 5-hour show. So it's like, okay, you're going to book an 8-9 match show and just have a bunch of shit going on it. What's that? What's that going to do for anybody? So, I respect Will Ospreay. He's entitled to his opinion. My whole thing, and I don't necessarily disagree with a lot of what he said. Like, but at the same time, what does this accomplish? It doesn't accomplish anything. If anything, by doing this, you come across as like, either you're basically doing a company directive from Tony Khan, or you're kind of just, trying to dismiss the other people. And that's exactly what WWE wants you to bring up, because that tells them that they're clearly in your head. And this has clearly bothered them for a while, since especially CM Punk came back there. He's become such a big deal there. He's done really well there. He just main evented WrestleMania. And that whole interview that he did with Ariel Helwani that was like 90 minutes just was like, it was almost like a burial of AEW. So again, just another day. And then the ratings come out. And then I just think to myself, it's like, man, this company's priorities are all ass backwards. They're just completely the other direction than they should be. So anyway, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.